Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM, 88.1 FM, and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto.
Morning, John.
And I just want to acknowledge that we are now going in to the Kristina Lou show, which is the highlight of everybody's day. And considering that next week we're going to be off, there's going to be like withdrawal symptoms going on. And it's a terrible thing when Kristina takes off, but it is what it is. Good morning, dear. How are you?
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I mean, that first hour really flew by. I was sitting here working and I was listening, and it was just so informative. And I think a topic that's certainly on, no matter what age you are, everyone's mind nowadays. I think about even conversations I have with my husband, and what Peter was saying about everyone's kind of trying to figure out what to do because, your money is just sitting there and you want to, make something of it. So it was really informative and wonderful. So great job, guys, on that one. That was
it really was. And the one thing that has to come out of that is financial planning is personal. Mm-hmm. You can't turn around and say, somebody did this. Nobody knows everybody's story. Nobody knows that somebody is ready to inherit $10 million. It's like, why are they doing this craziness? Because they got a huge, bankroll coming down the river or whatever the expression is. And the reverse. You have people that are driving around in Bentleys, and they don't know where the next bill payment is coming from for their credit card. Everybody's different. So you can't look at anybody and make any opinion, judgment whatsoever. You have to deal for yourself what makes you most comfortable in your life with your immediate family and then extended families, and you plan accordingly. That's pretty.
You just said something, John, that I wish I had known earlier in my life. Financial planning. There's a lot of people who say that they do financial planning, but they sell a product, and that's the planning is wrapped around that product, basically. Whatever the product. And I always remember looking back and saying, geez, I wish I could just talk to somebody who really cares about what I want to do with this and what my situation is, as opposed to they sell this product, which is a lot of them do. They sell a product and, that's where your planning is going to go. You're going to buy that product. And, to talk to people who are going to look at the personal situation is very important, in my opinion, and one that I did not know well enough back in my lifetime. The need was there, but there weren't a lot of people doing it. It was very wrapped around product selling.
Well, that goes back to proprietary items. And, Peter and I went out on our own X number of years ago for that very reason, that if there's a fund at any place on Wall Street, we can buy it for you. But we're not having anybody walk in and say, we could use a little help pushing this fund because it's going slow this month. That's what happens in the major firms. They can't deny it. It exists. They get sued for it all the time. The fund of the month, everybody's going to get a bonus. They're going to give you 5% more if you push that fund this month. Some of them work perfect and some of them blow up. Is it a good thing for my client? Not necessarily. So why should I do it? Because I'm going to get 5% more. That's why we prefer doing fee-based and we owe nothing to anybody. So if we want to do it, we can. And if not, and if it's something you really want to have, then we turn around and say, we won't do that. You're on your own. You can go there and buy it and good luck. But I don't want it in my account because then I'm going to have to deal with it someday down the road. Not maybe with you. God forbid something happened to you and your kids say it and they say, why did daddy buy this piece of junk? John obviously pushed him into it. No, it's the truth because they don't know. I would blame the person. I'll look at some accounts. I'm saying, what the hell did you do here? Yeah. This is the mess. But and it's a terrible thing. And I want to think I'm trustworthy. I know Peter's trustworthy. And there are people that you think are trustworthy and they're not. And it's hard. It hurts. That's all it is to it. And it's very hard to break that to somebody. That the person you've been with for X number of years and you thought he was your son, your daughter, whatever, really has just been using you.
Well, I think that's the whole moral. Listen, and I mean, certainly the financial planning, but you guys talk about all these things, and I know the average person, it's so complex and hard to process. But I think it's such an important thing to really do, and do your research on who you want to work with and whatnot. It's important to not jump into these things. Like Otto said, it's like, being educated and knowing kind of what to do and which place is doing, and also word of mouth and talk to other people, I think is important too. And, it's just, this is one of those things, like with estate planning, and meeting with a, an elder law attorney, as we were saying, it's so important, and that's something that we always had struggled with. I've said this before with my grandpa. My grandpa came from, a generation where, he wanted to hold on to things and it was his money and he worked for it. And it was very hard for him to ever like think beyond that and plan that, and my mother and I remember we would sit with him and be like, she'd be like, Dad, we gotta like meet with someone. And, my grandpa came from the school of like, you're all on your own when I'm gone, good riddance. But, towards the end, like luckily we were able to get some things in place because he had invested in so many different things, with different accounts, with all different organizations and stuff, so it was, it's something that's so important. And we always tried to say to him that, it's not taking away your autonomy, right now, by you being able to choose what you want to happen to your money, that's you being in control still, so that's something that I think is always the struggle when you're trying to talk to someone. So I could certainly relate to the difficulty of things, but
You know what it is, Otto?
no, I'm sorry, but the flip side of that is I know a number of people who are pretty obsessed by wanting to leave all their money to the next generation, to the point of not doing anything for themselves while they're here. They spend nothing on nothing. They have a car that's 30 years old. It's not safe. The television is still a 12-inch screen. They don't do for themselves at all. So there's a fine line here.
No,
you
it's
have a
true,
life. You have a life to live also.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's but that's the funny thing with my grandpa also, is that on top of that, he was still, we'll call him frugal, for a nice term. But he was that guy anyway. And we would say, Grandpa, get this, splurge on this. He was always the guy that needed to get the bargain, the absurd color of something. And he thought like, he was always getting a deal. But that was something we would say to him too. It's like, enjoy your life, splurge on something, as you were saying. So, but, he wrote it out, very frugal to the very end, Grandpa Tasso. But I think you're so right.
It's balance, Otto, Kristina, and so many people. There's a good number that I deal with that are balanced, but there are people, Otto, like you're saying, they're keeping everything, and the lights go off at 6 o'clock. It's like, wait a minute, you can't see. Why are you walking in the dark? Because it's the electric, and they won't do this. And if it's not on sale, they won't buy it. It's like, you got to be kidding me. So instead of $1.50, you pay $1.79. If that's the yogurt you want, buy that yogurt. You got to be kidding me. No, I only buy it when it's on sale. And it's very hard to change them. I don't know.
It's
can't, like it's 95 degrees out. Put the air conditioner on.
Yeah.
No, I'm comfortable. Sweat's pouring off of them.
Yeah.
No, it is something, and it's certainly difficult, because like I said, it's very hard to, to kind of change someone's mind at that point in the game. But, I think that's the bottom, balance, obviously. It's everything in moderation, is kind of always our motto over here. And it's something that's important because, as we know, we've been in this world where life is short, unexpected things happen, at the drop of a hat. So I think it's important to enjoy yourself, because what really, what else is it about at the end of the day? I think when you get to a certain point, to splurge on something, that makes you happy, is important. So.
But now you got to follow that up with, when you said splurge, there are those people that splurge on everything.
Yeah.
And then they're in the hole. And it's like, well, that's no good.
No, you have to, it's really about planning and balance, and I think, unfortunately, there are people that live in these extreme worlds, and both on, no matter which kind of card you fall on, it's not certainly a healthy way to live. But, I think it's all, and this is like with everything that we preach on this show, it's all about planning and preparedness. I mean, it's really the overall goal in all aspects of your life and how important it is. And yes, it might be, more work. I think, we all certainly know people who, I don't want to deal with it today. I don't feel like talking about this or figuring it out. There's too much going on. Everyone's got excuses for everything, and I think it's just a reminder about, yes, putting in a little extra work and doing that can really benefit you in the end. And I think that that's, it certainly pays off to be prepared in all aspects of your life. And just, this segment, even for myself, it serves as a reminder to be like, all right, this is something, to really, be on top of. So.
And one more thing before then we'll go on. A senior, okay, has to also not be the bankroll for children who want to splurge on stuff.
Yeah.
That's important. All of a sudden, and I have a client that it's a shame, but he just keeps coming to the aid of his kids. And they buy another car. It's like they have two already. And now they keep up the payment. John, send them a check. And they buy something other ridiculous thing and they can't keep up the payment. John, send them a check. It's like, well, they know you're going to call me and I'm going to send them a check. So don't get cranky. Let them, on one of those events, let them sell the third car or the snowmobile or whatever the damn thing is that they bought and figure it out.
Yeah.
Because you've treated them in such a way that they know if I want something, buy it, put it on the credit card, call daddy, say, daddy, I can't keep the payments up. Daddy calls me, says, send them a check. That's no good either.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're not teaching them. One day, God forbid something happens to daddy, and Otto, just one other thing I just wanted to touch on base too. When I just said that, you worry about daddy. Seniors, okay, married seniors have to make sure that their stuff is in order so that when and if a partner dies, their children are taken care of. And what I mean by that is, and I have come across these situations where the surviving spouse, a year or two down the road, remarries or doesn't even remarry. They really get into a relationship with somebody. And guess what? What was the money that was going to go to my kids is now going to her and her kids because I changed my plans. I did this. I come across them. It breaks my heart because I want my money to go to my kids.
No, and it's so, and you're right. It's like, listen, these are all things nobody wants to think of, because who wants a plan for these kind of things, and that's the same reason people don't want to make wills and all these different things, it's, but I think it's important, like I said, to think about these things and to have it how you want it to be, is certainly the main goal of all of this. So.
Yeah, and you're not ruling from the grave. You're just being smart. I want to go back. Otto was saying something at the break. If you don't mind talking about it, talking about your vacation and how you're planning, which I think is very important for seniors, adult children, grandchildren, everybody to listen to. I think what you do is great. And just, if you don't mind sharing it.
Well, the philosophy that I've heard from other people is they'd like to give with a warm hand. So this summer, hopefully COVID permits, we have a reservation. We booked a house, a big estate up in Mount Kisco. We did it last year and it worked great. So we booked it again and we pay a good chunk of it and they all contribute some money as well. But they said, well, you shouldn't really do that, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'd rather do that and have a good family together experience than leave you the extra few dollars, whatever it is, $7,000. I'd rather share it now while we're alive and do something as opposed to just having it as a piece of paper where you get money later. There's a balance again, as you point out. Some of it you could share with them now and enjoy each other and hopefully leave a legacy of some good memories.
Sure, and that's the things that are gonna listen at the end. I think about that all the time, probably more than the average person. But I'm so focused on it's important because I couldn't imagine anything worse than saying, "Oh, I should have done this." I mean, all of us, I think, know people when someone passes away. And they say, oh, I should have answered the phone. Oh, I should have visited more. I mean, I think we've all heard that. And I'm like obsessed with not having to do that. And I had addressed with my grandfather earlier. And listen, you couldn't get closer than I was with my grandfather. And luckily, as we've talked about this before on the show, on when it was difficult for him to leave the house. And I spent a lot of time with him on weekends. Going through his slides because he was a photographer and we would convert them, into digital files. It was a whole process. He loved it. It was a difficult process because my grandpa, like I said, wasn't the easiest. But I certainly, my social work background, knew how to deal with him. And it was, like I said, yes, there's moments that it could have been stressful, but those moments now I absolutely treasure. The fact that I got to do that. I mean, and both of you have seen, the fact, we got to do a photography show because I had all of his digital files, so those kind of things. And I remember when I was 13 years old, my grandmother had cancer that summer, and I just wanted to be with her 24/7. And those things to me, and like I said, it's got to be what obviously means something to you, are what's important. Yes, the money part is lovely, and to be, obviously life's a lot easier when you have money, but I think it's, having those memories are things, Otto, that are so nice for your family. And I'm not going to get emotional.
Well, like you said, had I just made that phone call or
Yeah.
whatever, I think it's really got to come down to that shouldn't be the turning point. So you couldn't make that phone call.
Mhm.
As long as you had all kinds of other
Yeah,
cumulative things
of
that went
course.
on, that one phone call is only a very,
A
very
tiny bit,
slight
right.
piece of the puzzle. It's one corner piece in the puzzle. The rest of the puzzle, you had a lot of other good moments, and that's what you have to look at,
No,
in my
absolutely.
opinion.
And I think it's important. And those are the things, especially I think we all know, living in the time we're living in, where we can't all be together, how important it is to, when you can be together, to be together. So that's my spiel on that one, guys.
No, it's very true. I mean, what Otto's saying, what Kristina's saying, I agree with both of you. You have to find a balance. You have to try to be there for the people you love. And you also have to acknowledge the people that are never going to be there for you. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with saying, I know you have no interest in me. I'll be nice. I'll be courteous, but you're not part of my, you're not part of my inner circle. That's it. Let's move on. I don't, you have to at the end of the day.
Now, here's a different twist for you, all right? As you know, I'm big on ancestry and old pictures and
Yes.
all history, family history. And I just decided I'm going to have in my family tree and ancestry, I'm going to create a Friends Hall of Fame. These are
Ooh,
people
what's this?
who do not show up in your family tree, who have, like I have a friend of mine, we met in the 6th grade and we're still friends.
Oh,
But he's
I
not,
love this. This is
but
so
he's not in
great.
my family tree. All right.
Yeah.
He was my best man at the first wedding
Mhm.
and, all of the above. And I'm saying, now he'll just be forgotten about as far as history goes. All right. Yet in my life, he's as important as a family member who I have a little box in the corner that says they were born in,
Yeah.
1918 and they died in 1973. And I don't even know who they were. That's a box in a family tree that really has no meaning as far as I go.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, why not have in your family tree a Hall of Fame
I
of
can't tell you
friends?
how much I love this. I think that is absolutely. So are you able, like if you're doing it through a program, is that something that's even,
Well, no, what you do in Ancestry is there's a gallery where you can put documents, all right? So I would make a document, a Word document that basically covers these people and indicate what the relationship was and that type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't done it yet, but I have scratched out some names and whatnot that would fit. These are people who were in your life, truly in your life. I mean, they know your family. You've been with them. You've been through ups and downs and marriages and
Yeah.
deaths and everything that goes along with it. Like John, you and Peter. Peter would not show up in your family tree as an
Right,
example,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yet Peter is probably as big a person in your family tree as would be, you know, uh,
Absolutely. I agree. He's
you know,
included in everything. Every one of my kids, if
yeah,
they do the text, Peter's
yeah,
on the text.
yeah. So, there's my point though. He's a classic example
Yep, absolutely.
of he would be in your family tree in the Hall of Fame, you know,
I
uh,
love this. I
as a
think this is
friend.
Otto, you know what? Just when I think I couldn't love you even more, every week you just say something that just really warms my heart. And
This is a brainstorm that comes up.
no,
I
it is.
wake
It's
up
so
and
important.
well, I
And I
have
think,
the phone is next to the bed, and I wake up sometimes like 4 o'clock, and I'm saying,
yes,
I don't want to forget that. So I picked the phone up. I sent
So
myself
good.
an email.
Oh, it's so wonderful. I love it. No, and I think that that's, it's so important when you say, listen, and I think we're in a time where there's everyone, some people don't have family, and their friends are their family, and I think about that too with my own friends, so, we've been friends for so many years, and you think about all these things that you've been through and growing up with them, and it's just all this journey. And I think that, a lot of my friends, are closer to me than, distant family members, so it's certainly something that I think is important. So I love that. I fully support that. Otto, I think you could market this whole product. I'm really into this.
Well, I often say we should have a session somewhere. I could be involved, but like ancestry, family tree,
Yes,
that kind of thing.
absolutely.
Um, and it has to be done in a way that you could actually show it on the screen and show people what you can really do. Um, it's pretty amazing what you can do. It
Yeah, and
really
it's
is.
a treasure, when you had told us, your journey, what you found, and after all these years, finding your grandfather. I mean, I loved that story, and I was telling that story to everyone because I think, having that, it's just the idea for me, it's like I wish I had something, from my relatives, over the years, and what you're doing for your kids, your grandkids, and future generations is so important to keep that legacy and that history, and I mean, I think about that all the time, we'll see an old picture, and luckily my mom and my aunt, can kind of identify everyone, but it's, you look and you don't want to ever look at them and be like, oh, I wish I knew who that was, or, what's the connection there. And I think it's, like I said, it takes, we certainly know Otto has put a lot of work and time and effort into these processes, but it's, as we were saying earlier, sometimes you got to put a little work in to make it, a special thing. And that's something that will
But,
certainly
but,
have.
big but, all right. There's a lot of things I wish I would have done
Yeah,
years ago
I
with
know.
my father, my mother,
Yeah.
um, about their life in Germany back in 1915. And, I know some of it because I did have the pleasure of going to Germany, to the towns they both grew up in. But there's a lot of things like I look at pictures and I'm saying, I have no idea who that is. So some of this comes as you get older and you look back and you reflect and realize there's so many. When I was in my 20s, I mean, I was as dumb as you come.
I
you
don't
know,
accept that. I don't believe that, Otto, but that's
well, I
fine.
mean, dumb in some respects. All right. I mean, having a party was a big thing. Worrying about who people were. I was always okay with that, but I could have been better. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. I mean, when you're growing up, you don't think about things like family history and legacies and whatever. Kristina, you happen to be an exception. All right. There's a lot of people in your age bracket that don't think anything like you
Well,
think.
I have you
All right.
guys. That's
Yeah.
No,
but
but it's very true. And it's a shame that you don't think of stuff. And what you two are reminding me of, like, and since my mother has died, there's different things that come to mind every now and then. And I'll say, who was that person? Or what did this mean? And you have nobody to ask. And I'm not saying it would have been I'm not saying that every question you have would have been answered because you wouldn't have
yeah, but
thought.
it would have made it like easier, but I think it's great too. And this is something I'll give a little plug to technology for, because my aunt was doing, I mean, with social media, obviously it has opened up the world of kind of being connected to people, whether it's distant relatives or someone you might not have seen. And it kind of opens that world, to exploring, family things. They might have pictures or information. So it's actually a wonderful benefit, because I see a lot of times my aunt will connect with someone on Facebook, that was a cousin, that you haven't seen a bit, but then you're sharing information, you're sharing pictures, and it's really, really nice, and she's part of all these different groups, like historical groups where they can share different things. And I think that that's a really nice thing about social media, when you're able to kind of make those connections and fill in, the missing pieces for things too. So that's what I always say to seniors, listen, it can be overwhelming at times, but there are a lot of perks for someone, especially if you're alone and you want to kind of talk about these things. So,
I've said this before. People will say, well, who would you really like to have dinner with?
mhm,
And I would like to have dinner with my father or my mother at the same age as I am.
mhm,
If that were doable,
yeah,
I think that would be quite an exchange,
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
The concept of that. I mean, it's a truth. You look back on these things, we have to know what's going on around the town. So we're going to shift gears a little bit right now. And so Kristina can bring us up to on what's going on, what people need to know, etc.
absolutely. Well, we are in February, so I want to remind everyone that February is Heart Health Month. So we have in our email newsletter, we have a great article just with some tips about, listen, I think a lot of them are self-explanatory about exercising and eating right and whatnot, but it's a great little reminder. So if you are not getting our Project Independence email newsletter, you can call 311 and ask to have your email address added, because every month we send it out. It has all different programs that not only Project Independence is providing, but also programs that are going on throughout the town. And in February we even had a blurb about the winter storm update, because as we all know, there was quite the snowstorm earlier in the week. So that was in there, and it's really just jam packed with great information. So I encourage everyone to sign up, and you don't have to be a senior for. You could be someone who works with seniors or just wants a caregiver, whatever it might be. Just call 311 and give your email address, and we will add you. So I think it's great. I'm very proud of it. I'm not biased because I put it together, but I have to say it's really a great information. Just want to touch upon, there are so many recycling programs. Obviously, if you are living in the town of North Hempstead, you are aware that it is very progressive and constantly trying to think of ways to help the earth. And this thing we had talked about last week, which is number 5 plastic recycling program. We were all kind of trying to figure it out, because it is certainly, just like the financial planning world, I think the recycling world and figuring out how to accurately recycle is very intense. There are things that I did not even know. Everyone thought, all right, you throw in the recycling can and you did your job. But there's certainly a lot more to that. And a golden nugget I will remind people is that you need to clean out whatever you're recycling, because that it contaminates the whole bunch if you don't. So this number 5 recycling program, starting this year, residents are able to bring any clean number 5 plastic items to the town's residential drop-off at West Shore Road in Port Washington. That's no charge. It's on Sundays between 7:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. And the number 5 plastics actually have to be separated from the number 1 and number 2 products, which is interesting. So just some samples. We were trying to figure out last week, what are these number 5s? And you could actually see, I wish I had something with me I could show you. But there'll be a symbol on it that tells you what kind of, it's like a little triangle, and it'll have a number and tell you what kind of plastic it is. Because apparently, I think there's like up to 7 or something. Don't quote me, but when I was looking, there was a whole lot of different types. But the number 5s, some similar ones, are the yogurt containers, liners in cereal boxes, which whoever thought about that,
No.
disposable diapers, plastic bottle tops, kitchenware, and disposable plates, cups, and cutlery. And number 5 plastics are actually the second most widely produced plastic. So if you were ever in a trivia game, you guys could know that number 5 plastics are the second most widely used. So I was really impressed. I mean, those are all things that I think all of us use in our life. So who didn't, especially the liner in a cereal box, I have to say I never even thought about that.
That explains something. No, the liners in cereal boxes seem very harder to open.
Yes.
To the point where with some cereal that I use, you actually have to get a scissors. And I'm thinking to myself, am I just getting weak? Or, That explains it though. It's plastic.
There you go. So you know what?
Number 5 plastic.
Yes, it is a number 5 plastic. So like I said, you are able to, and Dan buzzed in that I was correct, that there were 7 recycling categories. So there you go. So
Well,
Christine,
yeah.
after the show today, Otto's running out to Bunny saying, I'm strong. I'm
that's
strong.
right. Be like, I knew there was something up with this. It's plastic.
All right. Well, here's one for you though. As a
Oh,
result of 2 weeks ago, we had Jim Kane on who talked about smoke detectors,
yes.
combo smoke and carbon
Mm-hmm.
monoxide test detectors with 10-year batteries.
Mhm.
So as a result of that, I actually went to Consumers Report and they gave a high ranking to one of them, and I went and bought 6 of them. All
Mhm.
right. And the theory being to replace them when I hear the other ones beeping. And I looked at the date, and a lot of them that I had were 9 years old. They had a 2012 on them. So here's where I'm going with this thing. I'm replacing those old detectors with the new detectors when they chirp, when you run all over the house trying to find out where your smoke detectors are. But where does a smoke detector fit in recycling? Is that, there's electronic components inside.
I feel like that would probably fall into the e-waste category. I would think, because it's not just like, I think because there are I think once wires get involved, don't quote me on that, but I believe that it goes into the e-waste category. But that is something that if you call 311, they would certainly be able to answer. Because we actually have an e-waste program also, which is a very great segue there, Otto. And February 20th is the first date, and that's at 802 West Shore Road in Port Washington from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you're able to drop off your e-waste, and it's free of charge. So you can call 311 for specific things, but I know they take computers and cameras. I mean, things get outdated so quickly. And the fact is, once they get outdated, it's very hard for anyone to want to take it. As we know, the plight of John trying to get rid of a flat screen TV that was perfectly working that nobody wanted because, there's updates. So
They weighed 300 pounds.
That wasn't too bad.
No, I had one that was like it needed at least 2 people to carry it out.
But that's great, and then there are dates going. It's once a month going from up until November, so you can call 311 for that. But I think, Otto, that's a great question, and I'm going to find that out for not next week because we're on vacation, but the following week, and I will tell people what to do with their smoke detectors, because that's certainly something good. And Otto, I also checked with my husband because I thought we had the 10-year ones, and he confirmed we did have the 10-year things, because he said when we moved in the house, we had just the battery ones, and he thought that was, just too confusing. It was just a lot easier to know that you got this thing for 10 years. And like you said, having it all kind of in sync, so you could just change everything at one time is certainly beneficial. So that was that. And also there is the Shed the Meds program that we are doing with the county exec Laura Curran and police commissioner Patrick Ryder. We're all teaming up for a Shed the Meds, and it's going to be at Town Hall on May 8th. At the Shed the Meds program, you're able to drop off different pharmaceuticals safely. Obviously, in the past, we used to be able to bring them to the STOP program, but that is no longer. This is a special event that takes that, and things that they will take are prescriptions, prescription patches, medications, ointments, over-the-counter medications, vitamins, sample medications, and even medications for your pets. Things that we will not accept, though, I just want people to know, are needles, sharps, aerosol cans, thermometers, ointments, hydrogen peroxide, inhalers, biohazardous waste, and medication from businesses, which I thought was interesting. So you can call 311, obviously, if you have a specific question. But I think, how many of us have, we have medicine or, the over-the-counter things, and that's still medicine. Just because it wasn't prescribed to you, the Tylenol that expired in your medicine cabinet still needs to be safely disposed of. So I think that it's great that we're going to have a program for that. And then if you also, you can get rid of everything at the Town North Hempstead is the STOP program. The first date for this year is March 21st at North Hempstead Beach Park. Here you can get rid of, obviously, you can shred documents, and this is where you can get rid of clothing and disinfectants. thermostats, rechargeable batteries, paint. It's a whole bunch of stuff. So that is great. And you could actually, you stay in your car, they open your trunk and take out the box for you. So I think it's really great. And it's all part of spring cleaning. We are, we're approaching spring. Hopefully this winter kind of speeds up. It is staying, light a little longer now. So I'm hoping we can just get right through this winter and onto spring. Is kind of what I'm going. So clean out your stuff. And we will be back actually in February. We will have Wayne Wink will be on February 19th. Talking about some updates. And then on February 26th, we have on Barbara Feldman, who will give us all the tips we need to do to organize and declutter. So we all, I know, have our pen and pencil ready. I'm always so motivated after listening to Barbara Feldman talk about those tips. So you can get all that, and then you can get rid of it at all these different North Hempstead programs. So I just want to share that.
And Kristina just gave us a few dates for February. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, you're booked through April.
I am booked through April. Yes, yeah. That is hot off the presses. And I'll give a little sample of what's going on too, because I think they're really diverse and awesome segments. Because on March 5th, we have Supervisor Judy Bosworth, who will be on. She will be giving updates about the state of the town. Then we're going to have on March 12th, Deborah Heiser, who is actually, she's done different TED Talks, which I think is wonderful. She's an applied developmental psychologist. She's founded a whole bunch of programs, but she's going to discuss rethinking aging and overcoming age biases and a passion for life. So I feel like that is perfect for our show. So I'm very excited to have her on. We are going to have on also in March, New York State Assemblywoman Gina Saletti will be on. She'll be talking about updates over there. And then we have on Dr. Parrick, who is going to talk about macular degeneration and eye health for older adults. And then in April, we have the fabulous Rebecca Miller is going to be talking about journey into mindfulness. We're all talking about taking care of our mental health. So I certainly want to focus on that a lot to come. So she'll give us some tips onto her journey. And then we also have on top questions about geriatric mental health answered. And then we have the Long Island Alzheimer's and Dementia Center will be on. They were talking about all kinds of services for seniors and families during the pandemic. We have on the Brandy Wright from the Nancy Marks Cancer Wellness Center. John has mentioned the amazing programs that they're doing, especially during COVID-19. And then to round off April, we have on the community relations person from the Port Washington Public Library and Carol O'Neill from EAC Network, who's going to talk about the great stuff they're doing. So we are covering all of our bases, showcasing all the great stuff going on in North Hempstead and just educating everyone.
Call 311. If there's something that you would like Kristina, myself, or Otto to talk about, call 311, bring it up. One, we would go out and bring it as a topic, but we'll try to find an expert in that field. I say we, like I'm a big shot, Kristina will. And we'll bring that person on because this is your show. And Absolutely. We do our best to bring to your attention everything that we feel you want. People have requested people, and we've reached out and we've gotten them. And otherwise, we just come up with what we think is an important topic. But you have something in your mind, you're hearing it about from somebody, and you say, guess what? You call 311, you'll either talk to Kristina or just pass on the message to Kristina, and we'll see what we could do. Even if you have a name of a specific
Absolutely.
person, right?
And that's what's so great, John, and I want to give a shout out, to obviously all of our other co-hosts that, we don't get to see as often because of this current world we're in, but all of them have, suggested so many great people and topics. And I think that that's the best because listen, you guys help me out when you do that because I think all of us have met someone who's interesting or a doctor that is really educated on a particular topic or whatever it might be. And I think that those make the best shows. So thank you, John, for that because I love that. And I have to give a special shout out to one of our co-hosts, Ann Hirsch, who I talked to yesterday, who says she loves listening to the show on Fridays. And she just thinks it's really going great. So hi, Ann, and we miss you. And thank you for listening, obviously.
And Ann always did a good job too.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's a different world. This COVID, what COVID has done, it's changed things. And I don't know when it's going back. I mean, I read yesterday that I think they're looking at the number of 75% vaccines by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Europe is a disaster completely. Canada is also not good. Israel is good, and
England.
England.
Yeah.
So you put it together, you still have people traveling into the country. They still don't know the efficacy of the vaccine. I just got mine the other day, 2 days ago.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, 2 days ago. My daughter called me on Monday and she got me booked for something Wednesday of this past week. I said, fine. I went over to Rite Aid in Sayville, which was fine. It was like a 45-minute ride from my office. 1, 2, 3, it was in and out. And I really don't think I felt anything. You know, it's hard to tell sometimes whether I'm feeling something from that or other stuff. But I have it. And I was talking to my wife about it. She's gotten the second one already. Hers was Pfizer. Mine is Moderna. But then I said, well, does that mean what? And it really.
I'm getting my second tomorrow.
The second is tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah,
What
Moderna.
about Bunny?
Huh?
Did Bunny get one?
She's getting her second tomorrow.
Oh, you got them together timed. Okay, good.
Well, both over 75, so we were in 1B.
Get out of here.
Yeah, we were able to, get. I was lucky, frankly. The first day that they said something about 1B, I went online and I got into Yes We Can. No strings pulled with any of this.
Right.
Lucky. And we were able to get it. It was.
No, and I just want to say too, like, listen, I mean, working with Project Independence, obviously it's a hot topic and we're constantly getting calls and whatnot. And people are anxious and stressed about, all these different things. And I want to encourage people, listen, I've even seen just when there are new places constantly coming out. You know what I'm saying? John said he got at Rite Aid. In the beginning, Rite Aid didn't have anything, so I do have faith that as this, process evolves, it's going to be more available at different things and based on production and stuff. I think it's, listen, I believe I totally get getting frustrated. I've been frustrated numerous times throughout this process, but I think it's also about having patience and not panicking through this. I've talked to a lot of professionals who are saying, things are gonna work its kinks out. Listen, this is the first time we've had to do something like this, and I think we all want to wave a magic wand and say this should be seamless, the process. But unfortunately, this is kind of how it goes. So I just want people to, and if you are anxious about it, you can call 311. That's our social workers and nurses have been so wonderful. And we've been trying to put lists together and whatnot about people inquiring about the vaccines and whatnot. Unfortunately, we don't have, in the beginning, I think people thought we had a special connect to getting the vaccine. We don't. We just have the information that's going on. But our job is to kind of walk you through the process. And like I said, each week there's new developments, new places being added. So it's just to kind of inform you and keep educated with that. So.
To me, the problem wasn't, or still isn't, a matter of places to go to. You got Jones Beach and they're talking about the City Field and all kinds of large places. They just don't have the supply.
Yeah, well, that's what I think, what they're kind of new places are getting in this groove of, they will not offer it unless they have the product, So I think, like I said, it's working out this kind of kink. A lot of places were being listed originally that didn't have it, but I think the newer places that are kind of getting added won't say they have until they actually have it. So
now in my business life, I was involved with a lot of different kinds of stuff, products that we sold. And just because somebody says, oh yeah, we need 100,000 next week. Well, like take these vaccines.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have the little jar. Maybe we don't have the top. Maybe we don't have the labels. Maybe we don't even have the machines to make this stuff and we have to get them. Or maybe we're missing a part. There's 4,000 things
There's
involved.
stuff that you have to, and I think, listen, we're in a time where everything we expect, and I fall into it too, you expect things instantaneously. You want it now, I need something, I go on Amazon Prime and expect it, in 2 days or whatever. So I think we're in this world where that's how we are. And it's not easy. I totally get it, everyone, but to step back sometimes and have a little patience. And to not panic through the situation.
I want patience and I want it now.
Yes, I wish I could get that on Amazon Prime. That's right. I like
Bunny
that.
has a sign in her office.
I love it.
Please give me patience and I want it now.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. Well, listen, I think that's something, Otto, if you can market that, I think we'd find that.
Yeah.
But just want to tell people, I know we are wrapping up, but we have a lot of programs. There's a Heart Smart program you can sign up for. These are all via Zoom. So you can call into the Zoom program, or you could get the Zoom link. We have an Alzheimer's program coming up, a Technology for the Terrified, learning how to tweet program will be coming up. We have all of our virtual exercise classes that are just doing so well. There are interactive ones that you can sign up for. There are also ones you could watch via North Hempstead TV, and you could also watch our show on North Hempstead TV. There's really great programming, and I have to give a shout out to North Hempstead TV because during this pandemic, they have really produced such great programs, and the fact that they put ours on, which, not to be biased, is my favorite. But it's really educational. And I think it's great for the people that aren't technology savvy, can sit home and be able to, turn on their channel. And we've worked with different villages who weren't getting North Hempstead TV are now getting it. So there's been a lot of efforts. And I think that the programming is great. And it's, the fact that you could exercise, you could get educated. They have fun, crafting programs and cooking programs. I mean, there's certainly a whole host of different things you can do on there. So just please call 311 or 869-6311. I know we are giving out a lot of information. And if you are confused, you can certainly just give us a call.
One thing I just want to jump in here with, one thing, when anything goes bad in life, you have to try. It's not always easy to find the good that came from it. Zoom has been tremendous. What has happened with our radio show, I'm just going to talk about the radio show, but the radio show to be on from 10 to 12 on a Friday morning, but to be Zoomed, well, not to be Zoomed, but for people to see it all week long. Mm-hmm. And then you can go to WCWP YouTube and find it. Because if you said, I want to see Oscar again, Oscar's going to be on next week again because we're off. But that is something that didn't exist a year ago. So sometimes when something goes bad, if we can pay attention enough, you can find something good out of it. Now, not everything is good coming out of this. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But I suppose you have to try to find the positive.
You have to. Absolutely. Because it is certainly, it'll get to you if you don't. So we definitely.
If you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine.
That's right. I like it. Look at him. He has his mug. And guys, if you really, speaking of sunshine, today is National Weather Person's Day. So if any of you so want to celebrate that, and if you want to get crazy this weekend, there is Ice Cream for Breakfast Day is tomorrow's holiday. And Sunday,
I like that.
Sunday is Ballet Day. So if anyone is watching the Super Bowl, it's also Ballet Day. So remember that
I vote for John doing ballet on.
So it is quite the.
I want to see that.
There you go.
I want to see it. I don't.
I'd probably fit right in there too, for that matter. But
so you guys can mark those things down. I know if you want to, have a little party at home, with just your immediate household, you can get
a little ballet party.
I like it. I prefer the breakfast. Ice cream.
That's right. Ice cream for breakfast. And it's an excuse. You'd be like, I'm just celebrating a holiday today. So that is what I'm doing.
I have that calendar that you gave me. You gave all of us at home on my desk, which actually is our desk. Steph uses it more than me. But she goes to those days with her kids. Like today. Yeah. Now, some of them, they don't understand, which is fine. But like ice cream for breakfast. I don't know if she'll talk about it today, but ice cream for breakfast, they would understand.
Yeah.
Some of them, they have no idea what she's talking about.
So I do it with my nieces too.
Show the picture.
It's funny. I do it with my nieces. They want to know what's on their birthday. They all think it's very funny that my birthday is National Party Day. I mean, really, I think couldn't be any more perfect.
What's next Friday? We're not going to be on.
Oh, that's right. Would you like to know what next Friday is going to be? You ready for this one? Paul Bunyan Day.
Paul Bunyan Day.
You heard it here first. Breaking news. And then obviously, because it's Valentine's Day weekend, on February 13th is Kiss Day, and February 14th is National Organ Donor Day. So you can be on top of that next week as well. So.
And then the following week, Wayne Wink will be on. And I know he does the Valentine's special, but again, it has to be Zoom.
Yeah.
Everything's changed. He used to do a tremendous program at Harbor Links.
Mhm.
You can't do any of those things right now.
No, but I have to say what's so amazing about North Hempstead and, being part of Project Independence is that essentially every program or service that we've had, we've figured out a way, yes, it's different, to make it virtual. And I think that it's really cool that the town was trying to do that too, with most things. So it's not like, oh, throw it in the garbage. It's figuring out a creative way and thinking outside the box. So that's what we're doing here, is thinking outside the box.
So everybody have a safe weekend. You've been listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Thank you.